Oh, hello! I'm just admiring my succulent. It's super fat and chubby. In this video, we're going to talk about how to propagate and care for succulents because my friend Jake, who lives in Brooklyn, adopted a bunch of my succulents when I left New York to come to Seattle. So he was like, can you help me with the succulents? They are getting really weird looking and like losing leaves and stuff and doesn't know what to do with them. So this one's for you, Jake. I hope after watching this video, you and Jake both will be able to grow happy and chubby succulents. If you would like to see more videos from us, please like, share, and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. In this video, I will be talking about 5 topics: lighting, potting medium, drainage, watering, and propagation. The first thing I'm going to address about succulents is lighting. The chubbier they are, the more light they will need. I put most of my succulents outside. I have western exposure, but if you don't have enough natural light for them, you can always supplement with artificial lighting, which is what I had to do over the winter because the Seattle winters are quite gray here. Some succulents actually get really beautiful when they get sun stress. And this just means that when they get a lot of sun, parts of their leaves will change colors depending on the succulents. And it's really cool. So if you could put them outdoors in direct sunlight, it's probably where they should live. If you don't have 5 hours plus of direct sunlight, there are other types of succulents that don't require as much light. These are the colunkes, the crassulas, and sedums. And on the Mountain Crest website, under Succulents Indoors, they actually have a much longer list of other succulents that you can purchase that require lower light. And if you're going to place your succulents outside, you will have to bring them in when the temperature drops below 45 degrees Fahrenheit or 7.2 degrees Celsius. Moving on to potting medium. You can just buy cactus mix. The last bag I had was from Black Gold, and that was perfectly fine. But if you want to make your own, just do 2-part potting soil and 2-part grit or pumice or perlite. They just add drainage to the medium, which is what succulents need. If you've purchased a succulent in peat moss, please repot it immediately. It suffocates the roots. And if you want to know why, subscribe, because I'm going to do a full video on this later. Let's just talk about pots quickly. Just make sure you get a pot that has drainage. It does not matter what material it is. It just needs to have drainage hole or drainage holes. I'm not sure I needed to say that, but you need drainage. I actually attempted to try planting some succulents into a pot that doesn't have drainage, and they are suffering right now. But don't fret, because if you get a pot that you really love, or you find something cool at Goodwill and it doesn't have a hole in it, you can drill a hole in it. You wanna know how? Watch this video. Now that you have a good amount of sun, the right potting medium, and the right pot, the most important thing left is water. And if you're gonna remember anything, just remember this. Succulents are highly sensitive to overwatering, so please let it dry in between watering to prevent that from happening. A frequently asked question is, how often am I supposed to water my plant? And to answer that question, you must ask yourself the environmental factors that are coming into play. If you have your plants outside and in direct sunlight, it's going to need watering more frequently than a plant that's inside and is only getting morning sun. So you need to evaluate how dry the medium becomes throughout the week. When watering, remember to keep the foliage dry for 2 reasons. One is mealybugs love wet crevices, and second, for succulents, this will promote rotting of the plant. So keep it dry. And also, when you are watering, make sure you water thoroughly. I place the pot into another bowl and pour the water in so that the entire pot is submerged in water, and then I take it out. So that is how I guarantee that it is thoroughly watered versus you just watering on top with the watering can. And because succulents actually hold a lot of water in their foliage, it is better to lean on the drier side than overwatering. Overwatering causes root rot, and that can be very devastating for your plant. And whereas you underwater, it is more likely to just drop leaves. And so your plant is still alive at that point. Whereas root rot, you're probably gonna have to behead it to save what you can. In addition, signs of overwatering is when the bottom leaves get mushy and they look usually yellow, then they start getting brown, and then they fall off. A word on fertilizing, you really don't need it, so save your money. If you give them the right amount of light and water, they will be happy and will flower for you. If you do decide to fertilize, make sure not to over-fertilize because you'll get these strange, weird, cancerous growth. Now we're going to talk about propagation. It's my favorite part, especially when I'm playing with my succulents. There are two ways. There are two ways to propagate. We will do a beheading demonstration first. In this demonstration, we are beheading a succulent that has grown a little bit elongated over the winter. It's been stretching towards the sun a little bit, and I'm going to trim it back. So I'm going to cut right above where it's before it started stretching out. So I'm gonna leave a bunch of leaves, as you can see, and then I'm gonna cut right above it. Now that you have your cutting, make sure you allow it to callus over. Otherwise, an open wound will invite all sorts of infections and then your cutting's gonna rot. Okay, now that we have our cutting, I want to remove the bottom leaves. And to do that, all you do is do like this little twist motion and they will come off very easily. You want to be gentle and you don't want to be, rip the leaves, because if you do, they won't propagate. Now we have a nice long stem, which we actually don't need because I'm going to repot it back into the same pot. So I'm just going to cut the stem and make a hole and stick it back in. It's as simple as that, after you obviously allow the cutting to callus over. And with all the leaves that you just plucked off, you can just put them back in the same pot, or you can put them in another pot and you just put them on top. You don't have to, stick them in or anything. They will root. This is a good segue to leaf propagation. So if you want to leaf propagate, normally what I do is I get whatever pot you want to use, and then I put succulent mix in it. And then I just put the succulents on top, and then I water it once thoroughly, and I just let it sit there for maybe a week or two, and then I water it again. So you kind of let it dry out more than you would if there was an actual plant in it. And once you you monitor it, and if you see root developing or leaf developing, you could water it again, and then a week and a half, 2 weeks. Then you give it some water. You don't need to constantly water it. It can stay on the dry side because it is surviving off of the water that's in the leaf. And also, let's talk about lighting. It doesn't need to be in direct sunlight. At this point, the leaves are, you can think about it, they're kind of fragile and they're kind of in survival mode. So you don't want to give them additional stress. So just put them you can put them in a shaded place. I have them underneath my grow light shelf. It's not too strong because it's supposed to be good for plants that like indirect light. It's a slow process, and in about a month, you will see some kind of development, whether it's leaf or roots. And don't worry if the leaves don't all propagate. Some of them will die, they will dry out. Some of them will grow leaves and no roots for a long time, or sometimes you'll only see roots and no leaves. They kind of do their own thing. And so if you are planning to do leaf propagation, I would suggest you make extra. So if you want 4 plants, maybe do 8. And if you get more, you just share them with your friends. There are many really awesome resources on the internet about succulents. Just want to highlight a couple here that I use personally myself. When I first started falling in love with succulents, I really liked the blog Sunshine and Succulents. They have a wealth of knowledge there, so go check them out. Actually, my first order of succulents ever, my first ever succulents, was actually from Daniel's specialty nursery. I ordered 100 succulent cuttings from them because I wanted all the succulents I can get. So if you want 100 succulents for whatever reason, that is the place for you. If you're looking for a good online retailer to buy succulents from, I would recommend Mountain Crest. They have a huge selection and the prices are pretty reasonable. If you want to look for succulents locally, I actually visit my big box stores, Home Depot and Lowe's on the reg. And they got some pretty good selection, especially earlier on in the growing season. What else do I want to mention? Oh, Korean succulents. So if you have not heard about Korean succulents, you really need to check them out. There are a lot of sellers, but more specifically, you can get them direct from Korea on a website called K-Succulents. And they basically have mastered how to bring the most beautiful characteristics of various succulents together into one, and it's pretty amazing. I've not ordered from K-Succulents. I have watched other YouTubers do it, and it's very tempting, but they're very expensive. If you have full sun and you love succulents, you really need to check out Korean succulents. There is actually a US importer that I found out about. I think they're called Cedar Farmhouse. They import Korean succulents. Obviously you're paying a premium, but if you don't want to deal with, you know, Koreans, you can just order them directly from an American retailer. But that's it. So check out Korean succulents if you don't know about them. Jake, I hope this video has answered some of your questions. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment below. I hope this video has encouraged you to include more chubby babies in your life. And thank you for watching and happy growing.